How did you decide at 12 to become a musician, rapper type? Because you technically started music back then. I'm sorry. That's where you
Right. I
started it.
did. I technically started music back then at 12. Me and my sister made this song, made a rap song. And I guess life happened, you know. At 12-year-old, I think I was living like a grown ass man. And probably a lot of people that's going to see this on my Instagram live or tune into your Twitch. A lot of my homies from back in the day, they'll realize that a lot of my peers, they'll realize our childhood, we were living like adults, you know what I mean? We had to watch our back and shit like that. Just different like race wars. But that was only a couple of years. That was my junior high years, you know. When I was about 13 and 14 or maybe 12 and 13, right? But when I went to high school, my older cousin, shout out to Michael Cade, my older cousin was a senior when I was a freshman. And he grabbed me under his wing and he said, look, hanging out with these gangsters and shit like that. Because I wasn't hanging out with the gangsters to be a gangster. I was hanging out with the gangsters because we had each other back. Because there was some race shit going on in Southern California around the time that I was in junior high, right? So when I went to high school, it was like a fresh cup of water, a fresh cup of water coming from salt water. You know what I mean? Like it was beautiful, man. My cousin was a star athlete, and he made me run track just like him. And I wasn't that fast, man. I didn't like coming in second place. I ran a couple of races and I lost, but they put me in the long jump and the high jump, and I won that shit. And I was a freshman, and this was the varsity high jump and long jump. I won both of them. Three of the triple jump, the high jump, and the long jump. I won them all. And from that moment on, my coach, may he rest in peace, Mark Turvell, he took a liking to me, and he would
This
always,
explains your name.
yeah, yeah, Jumpin Joe, that's me. And coach gave me that name, may he rest in peace. He took a liking to me and always checked on me like a movie. You know what I mean? Let's check on the at-risk team. You know, he checked in on me. He knew my mom. My mom loved him, and he just made sure that I stayed in the classroom, do what I had to do, made sure I was active in extracurricular activities around school. You know, I won homecoming king my senior year, best athlete of the year, Freeway League, like our league athlete of the year, the Kawani's Club, the guys with the hats and the flags and shit, they came and gave me a championship ring. It was crazy, man. I did a lot of good stuff, but all of that was just really me trying to be better than my older cousin, because my older cousin had so many damn accolades, Holden. It was crazy. And I'd say I at least matched him, you know what I mean, throughout my time. And then after high school, I ended up
That's super
jumping at.
interesting, right? Just the power of having like an older relative or somebody in your life that is accomplishing things at such a pace that you're like, yo, I want that myself. And then you start
Mhm.
accomplishing it, but then he keeps accomplishing more. So now you have to keep accomplishing more in order to keep up. Like that, that's a fucking interesting dynamic to have in people's lives.
Yes, that's exactly what it is to this day. He taught me how to be a man, a God, taught me how to be a husband, taught me how to be a father. I'm always taking notes behind this cat. He a cool
Mm.
dude, Mike King. He's a poet. Excuse me. Uh, that's where I had a lot of years writing poetry too. Uh, I put out a couple of poetry books in the past as well, published on Amazon.
Yeah, that's
But
amazing.
yeah, man. So that's basically where the whole oh, so now we're in college and I'm triple jumping and I'm long jumping and stuff like that. And
Hold on, I gotta ask a question. Are track like college people like cool athletes? Like, are y'all just respected the same as other athletes? Like, cause I don't know. I never talked to a jumper before. Like in the
mhm.
world of college athletics, is that shit still litty?
Yeah, it's still litty, man. Jumpers, well, I guess every track athlete in college, would be considered, cool and shit like that, right? Um, the cross country or the runners that do long distance, they're more of the Prefontaine type of runners. You know what I mean? They're real cool. Might smoke a little bit or something like that. But yeah, man, track and field athletes are highly respected across. They were in my school at Cal State Fullerton. Across the board, we got a lot of love and
What were you studying?
mental health and counseling.
Yeah, that's mad nifty.
Yeah, I used to
What,
use that shit to help out, you know, family issues, crisis intervention, theories and techniques, you know, counseling.
and during this time, are you still like interested in music, or are you like focused more heavily on just the athletics?
Oh man, music isn't even on my radar at this time. When I'm in high school, when I'm in college, um, about 4 years after college, music started coming on my radar because they started making apps where, excuse me, where you can like rap on your phone, and I started really trying to figure out how to do that. And then I gave up on that, and because poetry was really my thing at the time, man. I was doing poetry show. That's how I met my producer, AWOL. Uh,
So how'd you get
his
into
father.
poetry? Sorry. Go on.
Oh, well, I got into poetry through my older cousin Mike. Mike used to write girls love letters, and it was beautiful, like poetry, man. He'd be like, "Look, Joe, if you're trying to win her heart, you gotta come at it like this, man." He showed me different love letters and poems and stuff. And so I guess after high school, after college, after 4 years of being on my own, everything started kind of settling down. I started searching for like, who is Joe Thomas? Not Jumpin Joe. Who am I? And
Mm.
I took a 14-day vow of silence, and it really it really let me know where I stood uh, in the world as a whole. It was beautiful, man. Uh,
Okay, how do you get to the point where you decide to not say a damn thing for 14 days?
you get laid off. I got laid off of work, and I was like, yo, this is the perfect time not only to meditate, but let me go ahead and take a vow of silence because I'm tired of all these fake people around me liking me for the things that I've done, and they don't really know nothing about me. You understand? They just, oh, I know Jumpin' Joe, but when it comes down to it, I need help moving or something. Where the hell is the people that supposedly know Jumpin' Joe? That's cool with Jumpin' Joe. It was like everybody was really, really gravitating to a name, track records, and stuff that I'd done as opposed to me as a person. So I decided to shut the hell up for 14 days, and I had a notepad to communicate if I ever needed to communicate. Uh, what it did was it heightened my senses, man. Like I wrote some beautiful poetry throughout that time, and my cousin Mike had already kind of planted the seed of poetry, just from showing me all those love letters and stuff like that in the past in high school, man. I decided to sit down and write a book, and it was a book of a chap book. It was called Love and Lust. I wrote that back in 2011 or 2012, and then then I started performing my poetry through the city of Fullerton in California, and the host of a huge poetry show named Jason Fairhurst Wall had a son named Aiden Wall, A Wall, and Aiden was like 10 years old when he performed his poetry at one of the shows that I did my poetry at in the Fullerton Auditorium, and then about 4 or 5 years later passed, and his dad reached out to me like, "Hey man, my son makes beats and he's dope." I was like, "The little guy that did poetry about 5 years ago?" He said, "Yeah." And so me and they were linked up from that
Yeah,
point,
that's
man.
amazing. So I have a question about track post college. Is there like
Mm-hmm.
opportunities for that? How do you like? Were you an athlete after college, or did it kind of like end with the end of college?
Well, man, you can actually be you can get sponsored. I didn't get sponsored. I wasn't an athlete after college. There wasn't too many track clubs, in Southern California. Um, so my career basically just ended. I mean, I jumped a couple of times after that just to, make sure I still had it. But then I had to hop into the workforce, man, immediately. So it's like it wasn't paying the bills. I didn't get the satisfaction and of being a professional track athlete until I got a job in 2015 making what a professional track athlete would make. That's how I was able to get that chip off my shoulder.
Is it good money to be a professional track athlete? Like, I don't know fuck all about track, honestly. Like, I
You
kind
know what
of
I
know
mean?
what it is, but like, I don't know a
On,
lot
on the
about
low end, yeah, on the low end, man, 50, 60,000 a year, like a contract. You have a contract and stuff like that. So I just did the math, broke it down to make sure I was making what I
shit.
could have made if I would have ever got
Now, hold
signed.
on. Let's be clear. That's the U.S. dollar, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, that's more like 80 in my country. So it's like a bigger
yeah.
number for us, or worth putting into perspective, because 60 Canadian is not the same. Um, but that's serious. So you basically would find a club and then find a sponsor, and then people would just kind of give you a contract to run on their behalf in the various tournaments to win the prize monies of the tournaments.
Exactly. Exactly. They'd house you. You'd be like a adult, like an athlete. You'd live at the, or work out at the training facility, I think, stuff like that, and they'd house you, room and board and all of that. But, situation got critical, man. I had a knee surgery back in 2013 and I ended up losing my apartment. So I had to move with my homeboy, Jose. Uh, it was crazy, but keep in mind, me and my wife had reconnected via Facebook, and we were just friends. She was with me on my poetry journey. Like
Mm.
I drew her in to help me with my poetry, and then we just built and connected from there.
Oh, I
And
got a
so,
question. Just
yeah,
was it the medical expenses that made it so complicated when you had knee surgery?
man, I had to sling the pills that the doc prescribed. I don't even know how I survived. I rap about that in one of my songs. Man, the shit was real. I'm telling you, it was just me on my own. Lost my
Wow.
job, couldn't get unemployment, had to sling the pills that the doc prescribed. Shout out to Argue. He the only one that could feel my pain. We used to talk and pray night and day. Like these are lyrics from us. Ain't no more room. That's the name of the song. And
Wow, that's like, just keep in mind, free healthcare up here. It might be slow healthcare, but it's certainly free. So like,
yeah,
the idea of just being in a position where breaking or needing a knee surgery could fuck you up to a point where you have to slang pills instead of taking the pills because that's it. That's some serious shit.
yes, yes.